This is the book that you need. The D&D Player's Handbook. I mean, this is the main rule book. Of course, it's got how to make characters, what different characters can do, how they level up, how they succeed at their tasks, equipment you can buy for your character, the spells that your character can use. Sorry, I'm not showing this on camera, but it's the D&D Player's Handbook. It's all over the world, man. Like, go look at it, and if you want to play D&D, you have to have this book. You should have this book. Now, remember I was saying about the starter set, it's like, oh, that's all you need, man, that's all you need. But, yeah, that only goes up to, like, level 3. So, if you play the starter set, and you want to keep going, you have to buy this book to expand beyond the very basics. Or you could start with this, and you have a whole world of information. And, like all the rules you need to play are in here. As a player and as a dungeon master, this is the main book that you need. Because, I mean, it talks all about combat, all about that sort of thing. It doesn't give you any advice about running adventures, but it gives you the basics of the game. And, of course, a crap ton of spells in the back. It's like, it takes up a good, like, fifth of the book, at least, just the spells. And the reason it's in the player's handbook is because the players want to use all these spells. Well, as a dungeon master, your NPCs and your monsters, or adversaries, whatever, they're going to want to use some spells too. And they're not printed anywhere else, so there you go. Of course, all this stuff is available online, and if you prefer to download PDFs or something like that, or to even just refer to apps and things for the rules, that's fine. But I mean, this is official, this is published, this is a hardcover core rule book. And if something is different online, or if somebody has a ruling online, I don't know, I got the physical book right here. So I'm not going to argue with somebody on Reddit. I'm going to run my game the way that I understand according to this book. So, in summary, anybody that wants to play D&D, make the $40 to $60 investment in this book. Sometimes cheaper. You could probably get a second-hand one cheaper. Although, maybe not, because people aren't really selling that many of these because they're using them and playing D&D. So get one of these, $40, Amazon in Canada here, and you get it in like 2 days. Or a week if you're not a Prime member. Yeah, it's fantastic. Changed the game of Dungeons and Dragons somewhat from previous editions, but for the better. And it's this, I guess my overall review of D&D 5th edition is, hey, thumbs up, guys, this is awesome. But I don't think I ever really need to do that, because I think it's pretty obvious I love the game. So yeah, if you're a dungeon master, you got to get one of these. Now, unfortunately, these aren't as cheap for some reason. I think you pay a few dollars more for the Dungeon Master's Guide. I'm not sure. Or at least that's the way it was when I first got mine anyway, because, yeah. As you can see, you know, most of my books have like a bunch of notes and all that kind of stuff. Like there's my player's handbook. It's got all those notes in there. Yeah. Dungeon Master's Guide. I must confess that Player's Handbook, I read it cover to cover as soon as I got it, and I couldn't put it down. Dungeon Master's Guide, there's some bits in there that you're going to skim through it at first, and you're going to go, oh, okay, that's where that is. That's when I'm going to need to do that. Because you don't need all this stuff right away. But it's like it's a reference book. Main thing I use it for, it's got all the magic items in here. Let's see if I can get some of this on camera. Okay, magic items, yeah, like bracers of defense. It's like a cloak of I'm sure it says there something. I'm just looking at it in my little view screen there. There's like boots. Yeah, anyway, this is all like magic items. Magic items are part of the fun of the game, so you're going to want to have a good description of what they do and how they work, and whether or not you want your players mucking around with stuff like that, because there's some really powerful stuff in there that it's going to just destroy your game. But that's another video. It's got stuff in here about traps. I'm looking at special environments, like if you're swimming and stuff like that, how to handle special situations. How much does a boat cost? That kind of thing is in there. How to design villains. This is an important section that I have never read because I'm an idiot. I've owned this book since about 2 weeks after I started playing 5th edition, because I was originally relying on the magical item charts in the starter set. Pardon me. Relying on the magic item descriptions and things in the starter set. And yeah, I was too busy playing the game to really pay attention too much into this Dungeon Master's Guide. But every once in a while I break it out, and there's always something in this book that I didn't read or I don't remember reading that surprises me, because I'm like, oh my god, that's so easy. It's right in the Dungeon Master's Guide. This is one of those books that it's more of a guide book. It's a guide. It's not a handbook. See? Player's handbook. You have to have this. This is a Dungeon Master's Guide. Now, as a Dungeon Master, probably the main reason you're going to want to use this is because it's got all the magic items in it. And it's got some cool reference tables and examples to kind of inspire you and to guide you to making your own adventures. Not 100% necessary, though. If you can somehow get along without all those magic items, I would say hold off on that until you're willing to spend the money, and get it when you think you need it. But what you do need, outside of the starter set, unless you have the starter set, what you do need is something I'll have to go and get, and I'm going to have to show you. So hang on a second. Okay, another thing you're going to want to get is the monster manual. Now, my monster manual is a little different because, of course, it originally came as a hardcover book, just like this, except it said monster manual on the cover. Which is a much thicker book, though. It's about 300 and something pages. I don't know exactly how many. I'm sure I can count them. Anyway, an invaluable book because it details all the monsters that more than enough for years of campaigns and adventures and things like that. Gives you a great deal of options, and it's fantastic. And if you want to properly run the game, combat in the game, you're not going to want to guess at everything. You're going to want to know, well, how many hit points does a harpy have, So when I say mine is different, it used to be hardcover bound, just like one of these, but I actually dropped it, and it hit the spine and basically broke the binding, and the whole binding cracked inside the cover, and it all cracked all the way up, and all the pages separated. And that sucked. So what I had to do, since I didn't want to spend another $50 for the book, 50, $60, I put all the pages in page protectors. I put it in a big clear view binder. Well, not clear view, but it's got a cover. I scanned and photocopied the cover. I'll show you here. Yep, and it's in a big 3-ring binder. Now the beauty of this too. Okay, well, first of all, let's talk about the monster manual itself. It's beautiful art, concise monster descriptions. Let's see what we got here. We're not going to be able to read this properly, but that's the dragon turtle. Look, it's got a super cool picture of the dragon turtle right here, and then it's got all his full stat block right there, all his attacks and everything. And then at the bottom, it's got like, or you know, separate from the stat block, it's got a good description of the actual creature and maybe a little bit of lore, that sort of thing. Yeah, so the art is fantastic in the monster manual. It's organized brilliantly, of course, it's alphabetically, but like the monster stats are organized brilliantly, which is something I thought was a little more lacking in like 2nd edition and possibly 3rd or 4th. Yeah, because it got to be all over the place. This is I can't tell you how much that 5th edition has really streamlined the game of D&D and organized. That's the most important thing, is organized. And speaking of organization, that makes it... what happened to my monster manual, dropping it on the floor while I was playing a game under the influence, you know, drinking quite a bit, I guess, and things got out of hand, and the monster manual ends up on the floor. It's all fun and games till somebody loses a monster manual. And, yeah, so now the way I got it, I'm going to grab the camera, I'm going to show you here. Pardon the sound, by the way, it's an onboard microphone, so it's going to sound different here. Here we go. Okay, so I got it in 3-ring binder. This is pretty awesome. I mean, what I can do, of course, I've got a game coming up, and I want to put this dragon in there. So I'm going to pull that dragon's page out of there, along with any minions or anything else that I'm going to need. And then I can basically, since it's in the plastic protector, I can basically write hit points, track hit points on it, you know, and dry erase. Ooh, bad example. Here, let's get rid of that. Yeah, anyway, don't use your finger for dry erase. It's a bad habit of mine. Dry erase markers, by the way, once you get really into D&D, you need those dry erase markers. Well, I guess if you play the way I do. But anyway, yeah, this has been a saving grace. I love this thing. So I can just pull out the 5 or 6 pages that I know that I'm going to need for each night's session, and I can leave this big-ass binder on the shelf. It sucks for random encounters, though, so either I've got a whole stack of these pages pulled out, or I go back to the shelf and have to grab my random encounter monsters. Anyway, yeah, but I love the monster manual. So, in summary about the monster manual, oh, see, some of the pages are out of order here because I was using them. There's even some that I photocopied from like Volo's guide and stuff, because what I want to do is I want to get a copy of Volo's guide and bust that out of its binding and take all the pages out and put it in here. Volo's guide and Morning Canaan's and all the ones from the back of the, you know, adventure books. Like there's tons more monsters than you will find in this monster manual, because there's, you know, ones in adventures and other books. But if you're a dungeon master, you want this. Players don't need this. Don't buy it, players. Actually, you're ruining your own game for yourself if you buy this and you're like, oh, I know how to defeat a red dragon. He's got X amount of hit points, I'm going to do this and blah, blah, blah. And then you're cheating, and that's no fun at all. If you plan on running your own games, though, get one of these, because you're going to want to throw in some weird monsters. You're going to want your campaign to be slightly different from everybody else's, don't you? I would think that's what you would want. Yeah, because it's your game. You make it your own, and you want to throw in some crazy monsters wherever. Look, you got golems, you got Gorgon, you got goblins. That's just the G's, man. Elves, drow. You know, there's dragons, of course. And even, like, there's some pages that have, like, multiple creatures on them, like, you know, a bandit captain. Then you got yourself a berserker. Then you got yourself a giant fire beetle and a giant frog and blah, blah, blah. And, like, hundreds of monsters. It's awesome. Get this. DM, you need it.